Mafalda, the stage is yours.
Okay.
Give it away.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. So this presentation that we just saw was about design system and naming convention. I'm continuing a little bit of that within the design system, most specifically on motion specs. So basically, what I'm going to do is talk about a little bit of what we do, our design system does, the quest for better motion development, how we deliver today. And I'm not sure I'm going to have time for QA, but anything that you want, you can ask me after. So also, if you want to go deep into motion design system, I'm also planning something around that. But here, I'm just going to focus on how we deliver today our motion design system. So what we do. So basically, if you don't know OutSystems, which is my team, my company, we kind of like Adobe. We do products that are for other people to create their own things. So we are a low-code platform. And we have OutSystems UI, which is for our external apps. But the design system that I'm talking about is for our internal products. So we are the design system of the internal products of OutSystems. So basically, our design system is just for our products that are internal. It's not for anyone else to use but ourselves, which basically means that we have a lot of challenges within talking with the development team, because we are a lot of designers and a lot of developers. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about the quests for better motion development that we are in. So basically, in 2022, we asked a bunch of designers how do they work, what was their process. And we realized a lot of designers were creating prototypes for their developers. So not just stakeholders, not just product designers, they were actually creating prototypes so that they could show developers how to do the thing. But what we realized is that, most developers were not using prototypes. They weren't even aware that their designers were actually creating prototypes for them. So we realized we had 3 challenges, which I call them delivery dragons, because I like D&D a lot, and every challenge for me is like kind of a little dragon. So we have Figma limitations. Love Figma, but yeah, there are a little bit of limitations when it comes to motion. Miscommunication, of course, the classic, and low visibility. So starting with low visibility, what was happening? Basically, our designer was like, did you get to see that really nice prototype I built where you could see exactly how the thing is supposed to work? And the developer was like, I don't know. I just saw those Figma frames, just static Figma frames. And what we realized was that most of our developers only had viewer mode. And in viewer mode, you don't have a prototype tab. So basically, they were clueless that there was prototype. And we editors, we designers, have a dedicated prototype tab. Also, when we come to a product, when we come to a page, we see a bunch of blue lines when we have starting flows and so on. So we know there is a prototype that was built. But developers, any viewer, they don't see it. They only see the frame static, so they have no idea there is a prototype to see. Also, the play button for Figma, it's not really charan. It's very subtle. So developers weren't even aware. Some of the developers we talked about was, I had no idea what that is meant for. I've never seen that before. So the first thing that we did to slay the dragon was create a little component where every time we had a prototype, we would just put that component, say, "Plus present, there is something to see." And this actually helped these developers, see the component and actually go to the play buttons, so they would actually see the things moving. Another thing was that we did a workshop with developers where we would share the shortcuts. Developers love shortcuts. And just some commands, basic commands, so they could feel empowered in mastering the Figma play mode. So this has really helped them feeling in control. Because one thing that we realize is we are all a community in Figma, so we are super aware of the features that Figma has, but we are no aware of Git things or, storybook things. We love them, maybe we use them, but we are not part of the community. And what happens is developers are not really a big active part of the designers, so of Figma. So they are never on point with new features, which is normal. And dev mode, I think, is trying to do that, like trying to give power to developers. We actually put some of our developers working with dev mode because it's free now, and we really wanted to have their feedback to know if it's something worth pursuing. One of the things, and I will show you a little bit later of what we did, but one of the things that for prototyping dev mode brought was this show interaction connectors, which basically is show me the blue lines, and that really helped our developers. Also, they have like a prototyping section all dedicated to that. So again, more visibility. And the little ready for development page, which really helps them knowing what's ready. So moving on to another dragon, this is miscommunication. Hey, I left a comment on Figma with some extra info. Did you see it? 3 weeks later, the developer replies, that task is closed. I have no idea what comment were you talking about. This happens a lot, which is designers and developers were leaving comments but not mentioning anyone, so the comments were just like lost in the void. Just 1 year later, someone saw the comment. And in a small team, you just step up, you go to the developer and say, hey, you should do like this. And, oh, okay. The communication is very straightforward, but when you have a lot of designers and developers, you have to do a virtual communication. And sometimes it's not that easy. You really need to have asynchronous ways of talking with your developer. So how did we slay that dragon? We asked everyone to add mentions to Figma, because that's the only way that you're actually going to know if someone is talking about you. And there's no over-explaining. Anything that they could ask for us, they would just say, add the mention, just ask your question, no stupid questions, just ask them away. Another thing we realized, we use Slack a lot on our systems, and designers had a Slack plugin, but developers didn't, which means we were getting the messages for Slack, but they weren't. So this actually helped them a lot. And we added little emojis, just saying that this is a prototype, this is the motion spec. We also added instructions. You can actually add instructions to the flows, to the prototypes, just saying, hey, click here, or this prototype is meant for you to do this. And this really helped the developers that they would open a prototype and they had no idea how they were supposed to interact with it. So now they have instructions of, hey, click this and do this, without breaking the prototype, because this is only meant for you to see this interaction. And then we go to Figma limitations. And I think this is the thing that they really helped us, doing motion the right way for our specific components. Because again, we do components so that we specify them so that other product designers just have to drag the component and use it mindless. And I mean this in design and in code. Our components are ready for product designers to use them without having to think about how they were built, because we are the ones who build them. So what happens was the designers say, hey, check out this cool button group I just made. Nice, I'll click it like 15 times and just try to understand what's happening, like what is the difference, and I'll try to design it. I'll give you a practical example. So this is the interaction that we wanted. I know it's very subtle, but you can see, it's smooth, it's nice. And this is the thing that we ended up having. And for a developer, it's like, it's exactly the same. I don't mean what you're saying. It's the same, but it's not. And, they can click it 15 times that these subtleties we're not getting in the product. And we really wanted to tell developers, look, you're supposed to do this thing here. I know it's subtle, but it will do the difference. And so the way that we realize is that prototypes are super cool. Designer flows really helps us understand what is going to happen from screen A to screen B for flows, but it's not for testing, but it's not perfect for specification. I know this is a niche, but if you want the component to be exactly with the animation that you envisioned, we needed something more. Because developers were seeing these static specs. They knew there was an over and a press and a state, but they didn't understand how you're supposed to do them transactions. And what we did was create a motion toolkit. And this is basically, we created variables, okay, with our time tokens and ease tokens that we basically have already on our code. So what we have in our code is tokens for time. So we have like shorter times and longer times for specific things. And we have ease tokens, which is basically Bezier curves specifically for our product, so that we know that every transition that we have is consistent and it's the same everywhere. So there are no custom Beziers anywhere. But we had no way of bringing this to Figma, because Figma has styles and now variables for a lot of things, for shadows, for for fonts, and for, I don't know, everything that you can imagine, but not for time and not for ease. And I'm not sure if it's coming any soon, so we had to improvise. Another thing that we did was prototype cards. So basically, we picked those time and ease tokens, we put them on these little property cards, and we say, look, we want this thing to move down at this duration with this ease and using our space token 4. Or this is supposed to scale up 1.25 with this duration. And we just created this UI kit, motion toolkit. And we use it every time we want to create a new component. We also created this interactive motion specs that I will show you in action just in a bit, so that developers could see the thing manually by controlling the time the thing was happening. I will show you later. We also asked developers to use Chrome slow animation for troubleshooting. And this is something that a lot of developers know how to use, but you basically go to Chrome, you say, I want to see this animation at 25% or 10% the speed. And you know when something is buggy and you don't know why, because thing is jumping, if you slow it down, you can actually see what's going on. What is jumping? What is wrong? And so this really helps us determine what is going on wrong and good. So how do we deliver today? And I'm going to jump to the inspect page so you can check it out. So let's go to the inspect page. Okay, again, this is editor view, right? I can see all the little arrows. So one thing that we did was add this little component. So if I'm a developer, I know I'm supposed to click play. So let's say that I clicked play, and I'm going to jump here to this little thing, because now I know what this little icon means. It's to expand the thing. And I have all these little icons, so I know which one is a spec and which one is a prototype. Remember our button group? So this is a prototype, and it has the little instruction here. Click on the different colors. Nice. Okay, it works. And now let's jump to the spec. So if I jump to the spec, I have my prototype cards with my motion tokens, right? And I can click play, and I can see that QA, left for development, right? But now I get to slow it down and see exactly what the hell is going on. Not only that, but I can see that there is an opacity decrease, but there's also a scale up and down from one to another. So that's maybe what missed for our developers. They didn't see the scale. But now they don't need to click like 50 times, to try and understand what's going on. They can slow down at their own pace and actually have the things written down so they know exactly what they need to put on that transaction. And this helps us tremendously to communicate synchronously with our developers. And I have a bunch of examples here. So let's say this little tag. What happens? It actually moves, right? So these are the little subtleties that it's really hard for you to see if you don't have something written down or that you can slow down with. Another little example. Let's say that this little side panel happened. Okay, I'm just going to develop a side panel, but wait, there is an overlay that some developers might miss. There is an overlay that's going to happen. And here I can see exactly that there is an overlay that I need to put when there's back and forth. Because yes, we have QAs and quality engineers, but it's the best thing is to not reach the quality engineers and for us to catch this on time so we can deliver better and more efficiently. So yeah, I think that's it. I don't know if you have any questions, but yeah, I have a few of those examples here that I can share with you of how we did it. And yeah, that's how we slay our 3 little dragons. I switched. I don't know what I did. I'm sorry. I switched the thing. I don't know. But that's it. Thank you.